Merry Christmas, everyone, and welcome back to the Mercy Cast, where we are learning the art of compassion through life's adversity. I am your host, Raleigh Sadler. You know, the holidays can be hard. They can be tricky. So many of us are trying to balance joy on one hand and pain on the other. I know for me, this has been a considerably tough holiday season. And I don't think I'm alone. I think there's a lot of us who are struggling through it this year. And I just want you to know that you're seen, that you are loved, that you are cared for, and ultimately you're amongst friends. Because so many of us, no matter what it looks like on social media, we're in a battle. Because everything we see on TV, everything we hear on the radio, everything we see in the stores around us is telling us of this ideal that we have to live into, this goal that we have to ultimately succeed in. And sometimes we barely cross the finish line if we even cross it on Christmas. We are so focused on everyone else and trying to give others the best Christmas we can that sometimes we don't give ourselves what we need. And so today, I want to talk about creating traditions that ultimately help us, that ultimately not only help us grow, help us care for others, but help us heal. And before I do that, though, I want to know, what are some of the traditions that you love? Some of the things that you do every year? I know my family, we weren't really big Christmas tradition people. We don't even put lights up. You know, I mean, it's good if we put up a tree. And I hate that. You know, one day I want to have a family where we are just putting up trees and stockings and all the things. Like that would be the dream. Because for me, I would love to see that. But you know what? That's not life right now. And for a lot of us, we miss that ideal. We miss that Christmas expectation. And I'm so interested in some of the other traditions that people celebrate. One of my basically adopted families, they're from Peru. They invite me to Peruvian Christmas every year. And this starts on Christmas Day, but around 11 o'clock at night till about midnight. And it's really celebrating, you know, the birth of Jesus and all that, but big meal, fun, festive atmosphere. Everyone's sitting around a table and talking. There's a Christmas movie playing in the background. And I love it because it always feels like Christmas. And I love how this tradition kind of centers people where they need to be. And I think that's why we have traditions, because it brings us back. This is why we celebrate the Advent. And this is why we have Advent calendars, because they're little moments that can redirect our attention. They can refocus us on what truly matters. And I've been kind of researching what are some traditions that are celebrated around the world that we may not have heard of. The first one that comes to mind is the Christmas pickle. This is practiced in Germany, but it's been really popularized in America. And basically, you take your Christmas tree and you put a little pickle ornament and you let the kids look for them. And whoever finds the pickle ornament on the tree, and you hide that thing. It's like an Easter egg hunt, to be honest, but with a pickle, which is a little weird. But you let them loose. Whoever finds it gets an extra present. Some believe they get extra luck. But at the end of the day, you find the pickle. It's a different tradition than I'm used to, but, you know, I respect it. If you're going to hide a pickle on your tree, go for it. You know, the world's yours. We're just living in it. But then there's another one. I recently was in Europe and had the chance to sit down with a couple of people from Austria. And I asked them about their Christmas tradition. And really, on December 25th, that's when they celebrate the Christ child. And they believe that the Christ child gives them gifts, but they kind of understand that their parents give them the gifts. But on December 6th, that is when they celebrate St. Nicholas. That's the St. Nicholas tradition for them. And it's said that St. Nicholas will show up at your house, and these kids could attest to it, that their parents would bring in St. Nicholas and he would read a list that was already provided by their parents of all the good things they did. And this has got to be really exciting, right? You're a little kid and St. Nicholas shows up and you're just, wow, that's Santa Claus. But right behind him is another character that didn't really make it into American Christmas narratives. His name's Krampus. Krampus is a half goat, half man kind of demon with horns, and he's very frightening. And he ultimately punishes the bad kids. So where St. Nicholas gives gifts to the good kids, this is the yang to St. Nick's yin. He has a bundle of reeds where he smacks children. So the whole time, Santa Claus is reading these positive things the kid did. Krampus is in the back, swaying back and forth like a caged tiger. And he's looking right at the kids. And as my new friends were telling me the story, I'm like, man, that sounds trauma inducing, man. He goes, oh, no. It's very traumatic. And I'm like, he's like, but it's our childhood. It's a tradition that we're very used to. And I'm like, huh. It fascinated me because that is not something that I grew up with. That's not something that I experienced. But there's another tradition out of Mexico. It's called Las Posadas. And this is to reenact Mary and Joseph's search for shelter before Jesus' birth. So just like in the biblical narrative, they are looking for a place because time is running out and there's no room at the inn. So they find themselves in this shelter. And so what this tradition does is people from all over the neighborhood, they get together in a procession and they go from house to house to house to house, singing carols and asking to enter into the house until they reach a home where they are welcomed in. And I think this is amazing. As someone who grew up with progressive dinners in church, this is something that fascinates me. Your whole neighborhood turns out and they go from house to house. Imagine you're like the third house that's turned people down and then you see someone right down the street welcome them in. You know, you got to feel a little weird. And do they have a long memory? Are they going to remember that for the rest of the year? They're going to be like, you didn't let Jesus in. That's some good Christmas guilt right there. That's respectful. In Sweden, there's this tradition called the Yule goat, like Yule tide, Yule. And this symbol, it's really believed that the Yule goat was to deliver gifts to children. But today, he often just appears as a decoration made of straw. In some parts of Sweden, people actually dress up as the Yule goat for Christmas. And so have you seen that in your community? Have you seen that in like Atlanta or Orlando or Washington, D.C.? Anyone dressed up as the Yule goat? Maybe they're not intending to. Maybe they just have really terrible fashion sense. But yeah, some of these traditions, we don't think about them. Another tradition is the 7 fishes in Italy, particularly among Italian-American families. And I'm going to see if I can pronounce this right, Vigilia, Christmas Eve, is marked by the Feast of the 7 Fishes. Now, this is a celebration featuring a variety of seafood dishes. The tradition comes from the Catholic custom of abstaining from meat on Christmas Eve, and the number of dishes, they kind of vary, but 7 is a common choice, symbolizing the 7 sacraments of the Catholic faith. France has a giving of shoes. In France, especially in the Provence region, children place their shoes by the fireplace or under the Christmas tree for, and I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, Père Noël, Father Christmas, to fill with gifts. So let me get this right. They want Santa Claus to fill their shoes full of gifts. All right. That's cool. I know a lot of people who want shoes for Christmas. They're really hoping that, maybe their shoes will be taken away and replaced by some Air Ones. But no, this tradition is similar to our American tradition of having the stockings filled, which I think if you think about it, why would we use socks? That's basically a stocking. Why would we put socks near a fireplace? So maybe the shoes thing isn't as out of the box as I thought it was. But there are so many traditions that are celebrated around the world. But for our time in this episode, which is really going to be a short episode today because it's Christmas Day, guys. You don't need to be listening to me at the end of the day, not today. Just spend time with your family. Spend time doing the things that relax you and remind you of what Jesus did for you. But today, let's think about some new traditions that we can employ. And I'm not trying to give you work. Just giving you some ideas of some things that maybe you can do starting this year that give you space, that free you a little bit from the tyranny of the urgent, from the tyranny of pleasing your family members, from the desire to be the perfect Christmas bringer. Because at the end of the day, it's Jesus who's bringing Christmas. So you are let off the hook. But here's some things that we can do. One, have a good Christmas breakfast. Hang out. Don't rush into the big meal, but sit with your family. Drink a little eggnog if you want and have a conversation. Maybe in the afternoon, go for a walk as a family. Walk around the neighborhood. Go to a park. You could also go to a movie. You see, my family didn't exactly have Christmas traditions, but one of the things I always did was on Christmas Day, I went to a movie and I would see so many other people. And it was such a cool time to kind of just take a moment, take a breather. A lot of families right now, a new tradition they're starting is having a time of gratitude before their meal, asking every person, what are you thankful for? Giving every person the opportunity to reflect on the previous year and say, you know, I'm thankful for this. I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for this moment. Another tradition is to limit our screen time. We open presents and immediately start watching It's a Wonderful Life, which is great. It's a great film. But what would it look like for us to be present with each other in a non-stressful environment? Another tradition could be just journaling, writing down the things that have encouraged you about that day and the things that discouraged you. But I think a very important tradition to employ would be, as a family, how do we serve others? Could it be with a phone call, just checking in on someone? Could it be inviting people into our meal? Could it be working with those who are experiencing explicit vulnerability? Maybe going to an outreach center or doing a meal at like a soup kitchen. You don't have to do that, but what are some ways that we can give to others during the Christmas holiday? Because what studies are showing is that as we give to others, it actually heals us. And I think there's something to it. But like I said, these ideas, they're just ideas. And so I just want to encourage you, like, what's a new tradition that we can come up with that can ultimately bring healing rather than stress? With that said, whether you're going through a really hard time or you are missing someone who should be there this Christmas, or you are just dealing with stress, or you are going through just relational pain, like I said, we're all going through something right now, but I'm finding for me, the tradition that I am digging into is community. It's spending time with friends. It's saying yes to invitations and not saying no. And I'm noticing that that is such an encouraging thing. And so no matter what you're going through, I just want to say I love you. I'm thankful for you. I'm so glad you're on this journey with us. And I appreciate that you listen to MercyCast. And yeah, reach out. Tell me what you did this Christmas. Go start something new. Let's see what happens. You are loved. Merry Christmas from the MercyCast.